It's been a while since I've done a fragrance haul video, and I got 6 really great fragrances to talk about today. I've worn them for the past week or so, and honestly, I haven't been this excited or happy with some of my blind buys in quite a while. So if you want to hear about those, stick around, make yourself comfortable, and let's jump right in. What's going on, everyone? Thank you so much for joining me today, and we're going to be talking about some fragrances that I got from Fragrance Buy. Not sponsored by them yet, hopefully, but these were just some really good fragrances that I picked up recently from them, and honestly, they have some really good prices, so you can check those out in the description. Again, not affiliated, just really good fragrances at a really good price. So this first fragrance we're checking out is called Night Shadow by Zimaya. Now, Zimaya is actually owned by Afnan, and so that's their parent company, and Afnan makes some really great fragrances. So this one is no exception. So this fragrance, if you cannot tell by the presentation, is going to be a twist on the Louis Vuitton Ombre Nomad fragrance. Now, I totally didn't realize this until I filmed this video, but I have probably 4 different clones of the same fragrance. I swear I'm insane. I keep buying all of these different twists. I'm like, oh yeah, I love Ombre Nomad. I wonder if it's any different. Most of the time, there are very subtle differences. But I do plan on doing a clone battle where I compare all of them to the original Ombre Nomad, so definitely be patient and stick around for that video. But man, I gotta say, this fragrance I actually really do like. I have worn all of these all throughout the week, but yeah, this one, it has that beautiful, nice animalistic agar wood, but I feel like this actually has a lot more rose than the original Ombre Nomad. It still has that really nice, slightly sultry leather and that kind of, again, animalistic agar wood, but yeah, I think the rose in here is toned up a little bit, and it definitely smells really good. Like, I was surprised at the florals in this because I don't remember them being quite as prominent in the original Ombre Nomad. Like, it definitely has that original spiciness, those kind of fruits in the leather, but again, I think this is more of a twist to that Ombre Nomad DNA, but I actually like this one a little bit more than some of the other Ombre Nomad inspirations that I've smelled because yeah, that rose, it just adds a nice bit of depth to it, and I don't think it is too smoky or too cloying, and I think this one is almost a little bit more unisex, but still definitely dark and animalistic with that leather. That rose and the oud really do smell really nice in this one. Yeah, it's not going to be the most realistic smell. It's still slightly synthetic like a lot of these other $20 and $30 Ombre Nomad cheapies, but again, I think this one is probably one of the better ones that I've smelled. In the dry down, it definitely gets closer to that Ombre Nomad DNA. It loses a little bit of that jammy rose in the top, and it definitely smells like that nice dark leather and that nice kind of muskiness with the, you know, oud and the leather like I really like in the original one. I will say the only downside about this fragrance is its performance. I really only get about 6 hours of longevity out of this one. I remember I sprayed it on my arm before I went to bed. When I woke up about 5-6 hours later, you couldn't really smell it at all. So unfortunately, this one isn't going to be the strongest performer, at least right now, while it hasn't macerated, but I'm curious to see how this one ages as it gets older and more mature. But yeah, it smells really good for the 5 or 6 hours. Just know that it's not going to last you all day. You may need to carry it with you in your bag or your backpack, but this stuff smells good for the 20 or 30 bucks. And that one is Zimaya Night Shadow. Now this next one, I am so happy with my purchase. This one is also from Zimaya, and this one is Taraf Black. It's got a really cool box. It's kind of textured on the outside and, you know, just standard Middle Eastern packaging. The bottle's got this really strange cap to the top. It's like it's floating at the top, and I always feel like I want to like break it if I press down too hard. But the fragrance inside is so much better than the bottle. Oh my goodness. So this stuff has a nice blast of oud, saffron, rose, sugar, tonka bean, and some musks in there. And definitely when I first smelled it, I almost got like a woody pencil shaving vibe. So the agar wood and the saffron, I feel like together, it gives off a little bit of a cheaper smell. It's a little bit alcoholic in the opening, but after about 10 or 15 minutes or so, it definitely dries down and it smells so much better. It's almost like a nice high-end designer fragrance. I think in this one, they don't use the most expensive notes, but again, it just smells really good once it does dry down. And for the $18 or $20 that you're gonna spend on this, it's gonna get you really close to that Arabians Tonka by Motal. So that one also shares that nice oud, saffron, rose, that really nice nice kind of burnt sugar and tonka. But yeah, this definitely gets you super close to that. But what I like about this is it also has some oak moss in there. And maybe that oak moss also contributes to that slightly earthy, you know, kind of pencil-y, woody vibe. But yeah, in the dry down, it's magic. In the dry down, that kind of roasted sugar comes out. It's got a lot more of that vanillic, slightly nutty tonka, and it just smells so good combined with that rose. Oh my goodness. I remember when I first smelled this one, I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but as I gave it a couple more wearings, I actually had people commenting on it, asking me what I wore. One of my best friends, he was like, dude, what is that? I really like that. I need you to tell me what that is. Yeah, it's almost got like a sweet Paco Rabanne-esque sweetness, but again, I think it does it a little bit more Middle Eastern with some of that rose saffron and the oud, but it smells really good for 20 bucks once you let it dry down and let it just settle on your skin. In terms of the longevity, I think this one is more of a 6-hour fragrance. Don't get a whole lot of longevity on this. Performance is really good for the first, you know, 3 hours or so. It pushes off nice and strong, but this stuff is really good for the price. 18 bucks, you cannot go wrong. That one is Zimaya's Taraf Black. And next up is a fragrance from the house of Lattafa. This one is really, really good. It's been out for a while, and this one is Al Noble. Always get those names mixed up. There's like 3 of them. There's the green, the brown, and this black one. I do also own the Al Noble Wazir. This one is one of my favorite fall fragrances. It's fruity and kind of spicy. Just smells like a really nice high-end tea and floral shop. But this one, Al Noble Ameer. I absolutely love this one. Now, the only thing that I don't love about this fragrance is the bottle itself was kind of falling apart when I got it. The little metal bit up here on the cap, the little deer head separated from this black little spacer, and it didn't click in place. The bottle was leaking all over, and I had to press all of these little letters and everything on the outside back in place. And as you can see, my E is slightly floating higher than the rest of the letters. This bottle was a complete mess, but it smells so incredible. The cloves and the florals in this combined with like an apple rosemary vibe and agar wood, it just smells so incredible. It kind of reminds me of a nice fall and winter day. I just imagine somebody wearing like a nice tweed jacket or just some really nice kind of winter clothes. You know, they're bundled up. This is kind of what I imagine. It's also got a really nice labdanum in there that comes off a little bit waxy, kind of floral and leathery, and I think the clove in here makes it definitely smell like the holidays, or like, you know, you're going to a nice family gathering, you're going to Thanksgiving or something, and just cooking all of this nice stuff together. It just smells sweet, kind of floral and spicy at the same time, but yeah, I think the sweetness is balanced really nicely with some of those green rosemary notes. And again, the apple and the clove, it reminds me of fall, kind of like an apple pie. So this one, it does have a little bit of that alcoholic vibe in the opening, but about, 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes in, it definitely settles down. And as this dries down, it smells very, very nice. I do also feel like there's a bit of vanilla in here, and I've heard some people comparing this one to Panadora's Swedish Wood or even YSL Baby Cat. And I get a tiny little bit of that Baby Cat, kind of powdery, vanillic, kind of slightly spicy DNA. I feel like this is a little bit more complex. Yeah, just a little bit more complicated, but I definitely like how it smells for the $20. Again, not the most realistic or high quality smelling thing in the opening, but once it dries down, it definitely smells really good. I like the agar wood and some of those nice cloves and just vanillic tones that do kind of remind me a little bit of Ameer Al Oud Intense combined with some Baby Cat and probably that Panadora. Haven't smelled that one, but really good value for the price. That one is Lattafa Al Noble Ameer. Now this next one is a really good cheapie. It was about $12 and I actually got the tester bottle. This one is Nikos Sculpture Homme. Now I do know that they have a parfum version of this, the blue bottle, but I just went with the, $12 sculpture bottle, the OG Eau de Toilette, I'm imagining. So this stuff smells super familiar. It reminds me a lot of the really cheapy, fresh fragrance Dunhill Desire Blue, and it also kind of reminds me of Versace The Dreamer. I'm actually gonna spray some of this on skin because I really love how this one smells when it's a little bit warmer outside and it just kind of wafts up to your nose and you're walking around people. It's very youthful, energetic, and it's got a really nice mandarin, some orange blossom, tonka, and lemon in there. So It's gonna be very aquatic and citrusy, and again, it reminds me a lot of that Dunhill Desire blue. So it's gonna be very easy to wear. It kind of reminds me of that early 2000s, just floral and kind of tonka aquatic fragrance, but it smells really classy, and I'm kind of shocked at how well it smells for the $13. The bottle itself is kind of strange because you actually have to like click the cap into place, and I'm pretty sure it just sits on your shelf like this. It looks like a trophy or a sculpture. But yeah, the citruses in here definitely come off clean smelling. It's easy to wear, versatile. Kind of reminds me of spring air or like a spring, slightly cleaner vibe, but I think it smells pleasant enough, especially from the tonka and some of those notes that give it some depth and some sweetness. So some of the notes in here slightly resemble Givenchy Pie Air for some reason. I think it might be some of those florals, the citruses, and the benzoin in here, because that one also gives off a slightly vanillic, just slightly, you know, leathery vibe, but I do like all of the soapy and floral notes that are in this. Yeah, I feel like this is definitely a winner. You can't really go wrong for the $12 or $13. So if you want to smell like a slightly soapy orange creamsicle or like a dreamsicle, this is going to be your fragrance. This one is relatively short-lived. It's about a 5 to 6 hour fragrance, but it's again a cheapie. You can keep it with you, spray it on a lunch break, and you'll still smell like it after you come back and go back to the office. It's going to be super inoffensive, and you know, 13 bucks, it's a great buy. That one is Nikos Sculpture. Now this fragrance I am so happy to talk about. This one is from French Avenue, and it's called Azzure Aoud. Now this one is actually owned by Fragrance World. That's their kind of sub company, but I think all of the fragrances so far that I've smelled from French Avenue are beast fragrances. They're beast mode, they last a long time, and they're blended very well, and they don't smell like a typical $20 or $30 fragrance. I actually really like this presentation. It opens up kind of like a book, and as you can see, you have the really cool looking bottle in there, and it kind of feels like a niche presentation. You got this really unique looking bottle. It's got this kind of fake gem in the middle as well as the cap, and you know, cap is very lightweight, feels kind of cheap, but again, the juice inside tells a whole nother story. So this one, when I first sprayed it out, did not love it. I was kind of turned off by the passion fruit and the oud in the opening, and I remember somebody actually had said I was dying on the Fragrantica reviews. Somebody named Boss DC13 said it smells just like a crackhead broke into your house, took a dump on your old faux leather couch, and proceeded to try and cover it up with a passion fruit body spray. I'm sorry, I'm still dying at that review. So this fragrance DNA is not going to be for everyone. It's going to be kind of divisive, and I feel like if you don't love that Oud Maracuja fragrance by Maison Crivelli, I don't think you're going to be a huge fan of this one. But again, it took me about 2 or 3 wearings and a couple weeks for it to kind of, you know, mature just a little bit, and for my nose to come around to enjoy this one. But I definitely love the way that this smells. I think the fruit and the passion fruit up top definitely gives it a little bit of a bitter tart vibe, but I think the agar wood in this is very strong. So it's got a little bit of that resinous, slightly animalistic vibe, and the leather is super strong in this, but man, does it smell good now. Yeah, I think that jammy rose and the fruits in here do play really nicely with some of that agar wood and some of that incense. I think the oud in here comes off a little bit smoky, and it almost reminds me of like a smoked meat. Now, it's just like a hint of that. It's just very salty, animalistic, and not like a super smooth oud. This is more of a dark leather and animalistic oud. Altogether, it paints a really nice picture, and I feel like that fruit is just what that animalistic, you know, oud needs, because it's almost like it's completing a dish. It's like adding a little bit of that, you know, powdered sugar on top of the pastry to make it taste just that much better. This is definitely a strong fragrance. It's about a 10 to 12 hour fragrance, and you can still smell it on your clothes about 24 hours later. So again, this one is definitely going to be a scrubber. If you don't like it, you're gonna have to really get in there with the soap and the loofah, but if you're into those really strong Middle Eastern animalistic smoky fragrances with a little bit of that funky, you know, passion fruit in there, I think this is gonna be your fragrance. I actually did have a few family members comment and ask me what I was wearing when I wore this to a family gathering, and I got another 2 compliments over the next couple days when I wore this just a couple times. It definitely gets people talking, but again, I think if you like that Oud Maracuja DNA, this is gonna be perfect. That one is French Avenue's Azzure Aoud. And last but not least, this fragrance is a stunner. It is so good. This one is from the house of Ahmed Maghribi, and this one is Marj. Now, I did a full review up here. You can check it out. I talked about it in depth, all of the notes and everything in it and the performance. But if you want a more in-depth review, you can check that one out. Oh my goodness, this fragrance just completely blew away all of my expectations. It surpassed it, and I just absolutely love how this stuff smells. This is a 60 ml bottle, and it is an eau de parfum, but again, like I said in that review, I feel like this is an extrait de parfum because it lasts so long, it is so loud, and it just follows you wherever you go. You're gonna have this thick trail behind you, and it smells so intoxicating. Like, this is one of my favorite blind buys of all time. You have a really interesting gummy bear fruitiness in the opening, and it has like a department store leather kind of cologne vibe, just like a nice mix of a bunch of different fragrances together, but just in a nice fruity and leathery vibe. Like, every time that you smell this, you pick out like a different note, and you know, as you kind of wear it throughout the day, you just discover new little notes popping in and out, and it's just such a complicated and complex fragrance that at the same time is just so smooth, and it's very alluring. That fruit and the leather in the opening is absolutely intoxicating. It's got like a raspberry, pear, ambrette. It's also got some amberwood, ambergris, and leather as it dries down. So I think the ambergris definitely helps it smell aquatic, and it balances really nicely with some of those kind of tropical fruits. But I think the agarwood and the leather is not overdone here to where it smells like a real animalistic fragrance. It's a really nice, creamy, sweet, and fruity leather. And I know some of the other Ahmed Al-Maghribi fragrances like Blue Oud, it does have a leather vibe, you know, with some of those fruits, but I think this is definitely more unisex, and it's a lot more easy to wear, and I like it more than Blue Oud. Might have to do a comparison video too. But this one's a 12-hour fragrance for sure, and again, it follows you wherever you go like a beautiful scent trail, just reminding you that you are amazing and one of a kind, just like this fragrance. So get this one without hesitation, and that one is Ahmed Al-Maghribi's Marj. So there we have it, 6 fragrances that I say are worth every single penny. You know, some of them are a little bit cheaper at that $20 mark. They're gonna smell a little bit cheaper in the opening, but you know, as they dry down, they get better, and as you step up in the price, these $30 to $50 fragrances, especially from Ahmed Al-Maghribi, you cannot go wrong with them, and you're going to be getting some great fragrances well worth the price. In fact, a lot of them are on par with the niche and definitely better than some of the designers out there. Just saying. Let me know down in the comments if you've tried out any of these fragrances, or if you have any other recommendations from any of these houses, because I've been on a buying spree, you guys. I've been trying to cool it with my spending, but it's hard with all these solid releases. So I'm trying to get the ones that are the best and tell you which ones are worth it and which ones you can pass on. Again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing week. You stay safe out there. I'm Eli with Common Sense. Until the next time, bye-bye. We can do that more satisfying. Okay, that is not. Got it like the 5th try.